Hey everyone, welcome to Zealots. I'm Forrest.
And I'm Major. And since a Ravager never travels alone, we're not the only ones here. Who else is with us today?
Gross.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Matt.
Great opening line, Rob.
Yeah, that was Rob. That was Rob.
Were you guys recording the?
Yeah,
we just
recording the intro.
I thought you were waiting for us. Why are you starting right when we're getting on?
Have you met
we were
Forrest?
waiting. We were waiting at 1 o'clock, and then 1:10 rolled around. I was like, I guess we
Well,
were
from when Major called me, he said.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't want me to call you. He was just like, "Let's go on. We don't need Robbie."
Wow.
And I was like, "But what about Maurice?" No, I'm kidding. None of that happened.
Well, so you're just like, here's a big hunk of phlegm for y'all.
But Robbie,
okay.
like I was just saying, a Ravager never travels alone. I don't think you're alone either today, right? We have a special guest.
Maurice?
Special guest
Yeah,
host.
I got a guest today, my friend Maurice. Let's see. He's trying to get it on his phone. Hold on.
Story of my life.
That's why we can't have nice things.
So today we're going to talk about the second episode of What If. This was T'Challa as Star-Lord, which was a bit strange to me because I think Star-Lord was a name Peter Quill's mother came up with. So
he chose it.
So how did T'Challa know what it is? And I'd say this episode was an improvement, but it was really very much, blowing T'Challa this whole episode. Like, Korath knows who Star-Lord is, and he's a big fanboy. So, and Thanos just gets talked out of his big plan. I guess no one else could convince him otherwise, but T'Challa could.
Did you not like that? I loved it.
No, I mean,
this entire episode.
If you want to take the MCU not seriously, then yeah. But if you want to,
it's an animated condom. It's an animated TV show called What If. Right.
So
have you seen The Collector? Why are you taking any of this seriously?
Yeah, when it's called What If.
They did make the Collector.
You're missing the whole point. The biggest takeaway from this entire episode, the biggest takeaway is that Peter Quill truly is the fucking worst. Right? Like, Thor gets so much shit for not aiming for the head or whatever, and you saw him drink himself and eat himself into obesity in Endgame, right? And I really, I kind of liked how Marvel did all that because he did kind of maybe I can see the cause for self-guilt and maybe possibly blaming yourself for killing half of the population, not the world, the universe, right? But if you go back before that, they almost beat like Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Spider-Man. They almost beat Thanos with the help of Mantis, but Peter Quill just couldn't. The hothead mother effing Peter Quill, Star-Lord, just couldn't handle it for 10 more seconds for them to pry the gauntlet off. So yes. And then you look at this episode and you're like, all right, we know Peter Quill Star-Lord, but look at T'Challa Star-Lord. But the universe is a better place because of them.
Here's the problem though. They went in the exact opposite extreme. Like T'Challa is apparently space Jesus.
Yes,
he brought everything together for the good.
Changes the whole thing for the Ravagers. Thanos doesn't do his plan.
So it's like he shouldn't have become Black Panther.
Yeah, exactly. So what's happening to his homeland now that he never grew up there?
I wish they got to that. Tip, are you not muting your mic?
But
Tip's not even here.
Tip's not even here.
That's not even Tip. This is just who is pissing in our...
Yeah, last time somebody got away with it.
There's the stirring.
Yeah, and the classic stirring we have every podcast.
Better stirring than peeing.
Yeah, we were telling Tip to mute
you were pouring water? Yeah, mute your fucking mic. There's a mute button.
Yeah, so we don't have that every podcast.
Well, it's better than someone relieving themselves,
Yeah, they should mute their mics too, but two months don't make it right.
Listen to any radio show on NPR. They're sipping and stirring coffee all the time. So I'm just adding some authenticity.
Boomer.
The podcast.
Boomer. NPR's been around since the 30s.
Yeah, but only boomers listen to it. I haven't listened to NPR since I lived with my parents.
I listen to
I
Planet.
meant Millennial.
I listen to Planet Money. That's NPR.
Oh well, no, don't get me wrong. I love me some NPR. Wait, don't tell me. I hope they're still doing that show. But like, I listen to podcasts or offensive rap music, and
I don't know if I can. Yeah, I don't think I can mute this anyway. So,
all right,
deal with it.
So back
all right,
to
so Space Jesus.
Space Jesus.
Yes. Back to Space Jesus.
I love Chadwick Boseman, and I feel like this episode was kind of like his going away homage, and I feel like they kind of overdid it with that. So it's kind of puts you in a frustrating spot because you're like, oh, I hated this episode, but I really like seeing that final thing for Chadwick Boseman.
That was really touching. But like the way animation works, it takes 2 or 3 years in the process between animating, lip syncing, and having like the what do you call it, the voice actors say their lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Chadwick Boseman wasn't very public with his cancer, and he's also featured in 3 additional episodes of the remaining 7, 8. There's 9 total, so 7. Yeah. So I get what you're saying, and I think this is a beautiful like farewell to Chadwick Boseman, but I also know he's going to show up in 3 more episodes. So I don't think this is so much as like a blow him situation from Marvel saying goodbye to a phenomenal actor and human being. I just think he blew this out of the park. I think he did a phenomenal job. Maybe he knew that this is one of his last performances, so he gave it his all, but I'm not sure Marvel knew.
Well, I'm wondering if they're going to do like a big like what if Avengers crossover, like Captain Carter, T'Challa, Star-Lord, and whatever else they got set up for us in like the season finale. Like they all team up to fight Howard the Duck or something like that. I did like how Howard the Duck had more of an actual role in this. I wonder if we'll see more of him in capacity.
Literally, I saw Howard the Duck. I really enjoyed that scene. And my initial thought right after the door closed and Howard the Duck left was, ooh, I can't wait to hear what Matt thinks about this.
So they brought back Seth Green to voice.
Matt, what'd you think about Howard the Duck and Seth? Yeah, Seth Green just being Howard. What'd you think?
I am super excited about Howard the Duck to the point where I actually rewatched the movie from the 80s or 90s, whenever it was.
Ooh, how was that?
I loved it as a kid, but I did not realize how risque certain parts were in that movie to the point where my parents would let me watch it as a kid.
Yeah.
Like there are some
they probably really weren't paying attention either.
Howard the Duck really is the first true Marvel movie because it was like the first movie released theatrically based on a Marvel character, and next one after that was Blade. But I think there were some Captain America serials in the 40s, and I think there was like some Captain America TV specials in the 70s. There was that Doctor Strange TV special in the 70s, but I think Howard the Duck was the first true Marvel movie. I think The Punisher came out after it with Dolph Lundgren.
Now, that's interesting because we had... Oh, go ahead, Matt.
And I was just going to say really quick, Howard the Duck has been referenced before in Marvel. The collector scene in Guardians of the Galaxy, you see one of his species in the background, so...
It was a callback to that, I think.
It's like all the content creators are pushing so hard to get Howard the Duck more prominent in the MCU. And then like Disney executives are just keep shooting it down. So they're like, all right, well, we're going to get away with as much as we can. Like I was kind of hoping that Howard the Duck would stick around for most of the episode, not just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But if we had to lose Howard the Duck, I would much rather I love the fact that we lost him to a bar at the happy hour just started.
Yeah,
like that was great. He's like, oh, it's happy hour just started. We can't leave now.
What was that, Maurice?
That was him.
Correctly, like, do you really want Disney to actually jump into Howard the Duck, or would it just be small cameos so they don't fuck it up?
I want a full Howard
small
the Duck
cameos
episode
for sure.
That's a good point though. That's a good point, though. The reason why the movie is so horrible is because it does not follow the comic book at all. And that's something I've constantly harped on throughout these podcasts, is when they take all this creative, developments in their movies and do not follow the comics whatsoever. It's maddening. It's like, I don't trust Disney to actually do him right.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt, because like I can see both sides of the argument. Like, yes, you should follow the source material. However, for people who have already seen the source material, you already know what's going to happen, and therefore it's not as exciting. If they switch it up, like therefore, like they touch on hot topics or main points of the storyline, but they change enough to like make it satisfying. And I think if I had thought about this ahead of time, I could come up with some examples, like some good examples of this happening. I can only think of a bad example with Hush, the recent Batman animated movie, where Hush was the Riddler, right? So, like, yes, it strayed from the source material, so people who were familiar with the comic book The Hush, or the comic book Hush, didn't, quote-unquote, see it coming, right? Because it wasn't the same ending as the original source material. However, they also butchered it, and that was really dumb.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever complained about a movie or TV show for being comic accurate. I think it's usually just, they just change things unnecessarily. Or if it is comic accurate, there's some other issues, just like the acting, the special effects, or just like...
I don't think anyone's ever complained because it's never happened. I can't think of a single source, content.
So I can think of a good one.
Okay.
I can think of a good one for you, Major. First off, what you're describing is the hardcore nerd dilemma, which I am having with Dune right now, which we talked about a few weeks ago. But
right.
Judge Dredd,
if you know what we're talking about.
Judge Dredd from the 90s with Sylvester Stallone, right? He did not play Judge Dredd at all. Like, the whole thing in the comic books was that he never took off his face mask. You never saw his face. He was just ubiquitous, like all the judges were. And then he played him a lot more macho instead of a lot more scheming. And it was atrocious. And it was, everybody hated it. And then the next Dredd comes out and they played him more like to the comics with a few creative, things put in. You see his face only very briefly. But when they did the next Dredd, everybody loves that one.
But it made no money. Yeah, I think it's similar like the Suicide Squad. The second one, the reboots, or the second one's really good, but the first one was so bad no one went to go see it.
Exactly.
It's sort of like
there's a name for that. I forget what that phenomenon is called.
Suicide Squad.
I don't believe the Suicide Squad. I mean, I've heard that theory a lot, but I don't.
The Tomb Raider.
It was a combination of things. It was the first movie was awful.
Still a pandemic.
But HBO Max, it was a combination of those things. But
yeah, I mean, like, not only are they in the middle of a pandemic, but they also release it for free on HBO Max.
Yeah,
like I said in our review, check back to listen to the podcast for our review of it. Like I said, like, it's worth going to see it in theaters. But being said, I'd rather stay at home and watch it on my big screen.
And I think they've already analyzed and proven that if they had released it theatrically, it still would have bombed. So I think the R rating,
but it's still phenomenal. I don't think James Gunn has anything to worry about. Like, that was a phenomenal movie. If one person saw it, but it's the best movie ever made, I don't think it matters. I think you still get another opportunity in the future.
Yeah, I think even the HBO Max numbers were lower than Wonder Woman's. That movie was awful. So it's like the movie just was not successful. The first one was so good. See, exactly. Like, Wonder Woman 1 was so good. Wonder Woman 1984 was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yeah. And then you look at the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad was so average. Yeah.
But a lot of people hated it because they wanted more or whatever. I don't know what they were expecting from the DCU at that time. But the Suicide Squad, excellent movie. Mm-hmm. And like you said, not many people watched it.
The GA was just, the name had been tainted by the first movie, because it was just like, it probably is the worst DCEU movie, but then that point until 84 came out. So, I think it was just a combination of that, the HBO Max option as well, the fact that, Will Smith wasn't in it. So it was a combination of factors, but, it was just, I think the franchise is just DOA at this point. So,
but that kind of gets
segue into introducing Maurice, but he just dropped off again. So we'll have to do that next time.
To fix his name.
We need more Maurice.
I know it said Maurice.
I thought it was more Maurice. Maurice.
Oh, that was an accident. When he was having trouble with his mic and he came up here trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But then I noticed he was kind of breaking up a little too.
Yeah, and you're working on that Wi-Fi, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to what if. I think we definitely went off on a tangent there.
What if we didn't go off on tangents?
So that's kind of the point, though, is debating whether or not you want to be 100% to the comics or have a little bit of creative leeway, or just completely abandon the comics. And I think kind of what we're discussing is that you can have a little bit of creative freedom, but try to stick mostly to the comics.
Right. I think try to stay true. Try to stay true to the source material, but have your own creative spin on it. A bad example might be season 8 of Game of Thrones. A good example might be episode 1 of What If, right? Like, if they had just changed out Captain America for Captain Carter, I would have fallen asleep during a 25-minute episode. That would have been so boring. But they did mix it up a little bit towards the end. And I get it, right? You gotta ease like the overall audience into this idea of what if, right?
Yeah.
If they started with T'Challa, people would be like, "What is going on here?" But since they started with the Captain Carter, I think there was a smoother transition into. All right, so we're just having fun here. We're just fucking around.
And you got to remember, they can only mess with the MCU. They can't really mess with the comics. So it's not really a what if of the comics. It's a what if of the MCU films.
Oh yeah, I mean people not familiar with the what if comics.
Yeah, so that's kind of the issue with the what if comics, though, because to be fair, I have not gotten into the what if comics at all. They just don't. But it's so out of the norm, and it's so just whatever the creator wanted to do. And so you could be, for all I know, 100% to that comic that they're referencing. Yeah. But it's just such a startling difference that it doesn't play well in the series, I don't feel.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like the Ultimate Comics. Like, you basically have freedom from continuity. Like, when you write one of these series, like, set in continuity, you're so restrained by what's happened before.
Continuity or logic?
But, like, what if it's like, you can do whatever you want. But I think in this show, like, they're still sort of restrained by continuity because they have to, like, adhere to what's happened in the MCU. They can, do different stuff. They can't introduce characters that haven't shown up yet. So
I agree with that. Like, I think that's a bummer. Like as fun as it was, skipping ahead a little bit to the Collector fight scene, like when he used like Helena's helmet or headpiece, I guess you could say, to create the swords or whatever she has as a weapon.
The spiky things,
the spiky things from Thor Ragnarok. It would have been cooler to see a different thing that we haven't seen from another character yet, but whatever. Beggars can't be choosers. Not that I'm begging for this, but
so
I
he
enjoyed
just
it.
Call in. And so I guess he'd just start collecting everybody's stuff.
Like, the implications from that, though. Did he has Captain America's shield? Does that mean
how did he?
He has Thor's hammer. Does that mean he killed the Avengers?
Wait, did he have the hammer?
They're going to start calling the Hoarder after a while.
The Hoarder.
That's too much. Yeah, that's for damn sure.
So I got a question for you guys, because I wasn't on last week. But a big problem I'm having with this series is the overall animation style. I feel like I'm playing an RPG, like a JRPG on my PS4. Like, if this were a video game, I wouldn't mind it. But overall, for what Disney can do and can produce, which we've seen in past series, I just feel that the animation is really, really poor and cheap.
Now, see,
so how do you guys feel about it?
I quite enjoy the animation style. To juxtapose you, Matt, for once. I guess I can definitely see where you're saying like a JRPG, but like I think I called this out in like the last podcast episode. We were talking about episode 1, but
you're talking about the animation style and how awful it is.
Well, Major was responding to that.
Yeah. All right.
It looks like a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand, definitely understand, the part about JRPG. I never would have, use those terms myself specifically, but now that you call it out, 100% I agree with you on that. However, I think about things, and like anime style really does like make or break, for me at least, the enjoyment of watching an animated television show. For instance, the Batman Samurai, when he's like a samurai or whatever, back in like Shogun time period or whatever, like I hated the animation style. Like no matter like how cool like that bat suit was or could have been, like I just didn't enjoy that style. So
isn't this max of 5? Because I think Maurice is trying to get on now too.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you two just share a mic?
Yeah.
I only
share a mic.
I only have a headset. I don't really have.
Switch headsets, I guess.
Oh no.
You don't have any ear pods? You guys can go one left ear, right ear, like a cute Apple couple.
I'm not on my phone. I'm on my PC.
So I guess also the collector was also collecting some abs in this episode.
Collector got ripped.
He was doing his daily crunches. It looked like. I guess Benicio del Toro wanted us all to know what he really looks like with his shirt off. Maybe that was the intention.
No, I think that's what Kevin Feige wanted everyone to know if the collector should look like if Benicio del Toro stuck to his workout regimen.
Yeah. Well, I was very surprised he was actually voicing the character because it did not sound like him at all. But apparently that was
right. No, it really kind of didn't. Like it kind of had his mannerisms, but no, that voice didn't. Like as soon as I heard, what's his name? Awkward, the blue guy.
Yondu.
As soon as I heard Yondu's voice, I was like, Yondu, my boy Yondu. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to hear what everyone else thought about the anime. Because Matt brought up a good point. Unfortunately.
Brought up what? Thought about what?
Oh, Matt just talking about he didn't like the anime style. What did you think about it?
I would say it's anime. I'd say it's just like cell shading or whatever. Sort of animation. I think that's the proper term.
Cell shading?
Cell shading, yeah. So it's sort of like looks sort of authentic, but it's sort of like the animation from Reboot, you know. But
did you like this type of anime over Masters of the Universe from Netflix?
I prefer 2D always to 3D. Although this is
really
a little bit better, but it didn't look like cartoonish like Pixar stuff.
Have you seen season 2 of Love, Death, and Robots?
No.
Oh, they have some really good 3D animation.
Yes.
I'll always prefer 2D.
They don't have... Yeah, I'll tell you the plot lines from season 1 are far better than season 2. But the animation in season 2, some of it is beautiful. Matt, sounds like you're a fan of the TV show?
Great show. And it's one of those shows I love because you can like pop out a few episodes in a short time.
It's so easy. Yeah, and then like you have like 10 minutes while your wife's getting ready. You can go back and watch like a 7-minute episode. Like it's quick, it's fast, it's fun.
So yeah, they brought back a lot of the actors. Josh Brolin was in it.
They brought back so many actors. And
Ego.
What's his name?
Ego. Yeah, his father.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell was there for like 2 or 3 lines. Like he's gotta be. They didn't just bring him into the booth for one day, did they? Or just for those 3 lines? He's got to be prominent in like another episode coming up, don't you think? Or has technology gotten so good that he can literally just say those lines into his cell phone and send that over to Disney Studios?
That's probably what a lot of voice actors are doing now. Like I think Mia Kunis said in an interview recently, she was like recording lines from Family Guy in her closet, and she had like a recording studio there.
Avengers. I'm hearing it's supposed to be like a multi-dimensional Avengers being set up or something like that.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier. I think like Captain Carter and Star-Lord and T'Challa are going to team up at the season finale, and take on maybe Kang. Since now he's officially in the MCU, they can use Kang now. Although I don't know if they want to use Kang.
Yeah, I don't think they'll use Kang. I think they'll. I think they'll save Kang's big reveal for Multiverse of Madness or Ant-Man 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Damn it! I keep forgetting I have to watch that movie.
What is T'Challa's superpower? just like
charisma. Apparently, that man's got a 20 in charisma on the D&D scale.
Yeah, he's a bard.
He talked Thanos out of like.
He's Bay, that's for sure.
So
diplomacy.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Thanos this episode? Did you like his portrayal as nice Thanos, or were you pissed off as Thanos fans, or did you think he was OP or underpowered? What do you guys think about
Thanos? It
Thanos?
has no bearing on the actual MCU, and it's like pretend or like no, it's like what if. So I'm not upset about it. I'm just like I just thought the reason he was nice was a little.
So
like,
not you're not upset. Were you happy?
Nice, then yeah. Maybe it's like some sort of traumatic life didn't happen that made him want to take out half the universe. Then yeah, but so I just got the reasoning. Oh, he just got tucked out of it. I'm just like, really?
I would say this is canon because it does have like the Marvel logo at the beginning of it. But since this is what if, this is like an alternate universe.
It's
right, so it's not. Yeah, it's canon. Like this is legitimately what happened, but they don't give like the Earth number or whatever. So they don't write themselves into a hole. So I think this is like, and I do think it gives like a good kind of like extra perspective or background into Thanos, his personality and his character, because you didn't really see that. I mean, you saw a lot of it in the Infinity War, but they had a chance to go deeper here and show like a more fun side of him. Like he wasn't just being like an evil asshole. He really was Thanos, the Mad Titan, who thought that erasing half of existence could save the other half. Because you have to remember like his background story and watching like his planet basically overpopulate themselves into decay and death.
Even though like our population here would be back to normal population in less than 100 years, just because of industrialization and globalization. But it's
promotion of rampant sex in our culture.
Exactly, like the baby boom, another baby. You talk about me being a boomer. There'll be another generation of boomers definitely if that population goes around. They'll be encouraging it. People like polygamy becomes a thing again. So,
Forrest, only really in your wildest fantasies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Forrest. That sounds like your episode of What If.
What if I was a Mormon? Like you can have 5 wives, but no caffeine.
Dum 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 dum.
So
smart.
What if really? Do y'all want to move on to the Eternals trailer?
Yes.
Okay. Any final thoughts on What If, Tiff?
I was gonna say, I found it funny that they were like making casual jokes about genocide.
Yeah.
It's like
I think they were making casual jokes about how casual they were being about genocide. I think it was. No, I'm not going to use the word meta.
Meta.
They were like they were like making jokes. They're like, I think that's genocide, Thanos. Like, like we've all got that weird friend. Like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we robbed the bank? And you're like, I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah,
this guy.
The MCU just doesn't really care about morality anymore. Wanda like literally kidnapped an entire town, and she like got off scot free. And we still have to feel sorry for her. And then Black Widow blew up a kid, but we're still supposed
like
to
no one goes out to do a quote unquote bad or evil thing. I mean, the majority of them, right? It's just different points of view, and we could write the history.
But it's like if we did any of that stuff, we'd go to prison for the rest of our lives. And the show's just like, oh, feel sorry for these people. And it's like, what about their victims? Like, no.
Well, that's you. You as the fan, you can tweet at Kevin Feige and be a victim advocate and see if you can't destroy the MCU like the DC.
Well, I think Scarlett Johansson's trying to do that herself. This lawsuit, not the MCU, but she's trying. Like,
there were
burning bridges enough on her own.
Well, I mean, so I heard an interesting person. I think it was like a podcast or YouTube or whatever, but talk about it. But like, this is like, that was Scarlett Johansson's last movie interaction with Marvel and in the MCU. She got killed off. That was her prequel story. She's done, right? So why not sue them to get them as early as possible? Like, she's not like she doesn't need future relationships with them because there is no more Black Widow.
She signed up for a Tower of Terror movie. And that's probably going to be dead in the water now. So, like, relationship with the studio is over with. And, so she's losing out on work, through that.
She's probably so rich. Maybe she doesn't want to ever work again. Who knows?
I don't know where to stand on that though, because like Hollywood consistently screws people over for
Disney
money, and Disney especially, you know, with how like how many units they sold, and by releasing it for HBO Max, like they can hide the true numbers and say the movie flopped. So in that sense, like, I'm kind of like for, but her lawsuit could potentially destroy this practice, which I actually like. So I'm kind of a hypocrite here.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because you know there was a contract, and they did void the contract. However, when that contract was written, COVID-19 wasn't a thing. It'll be interesting for smarter people in the judiciary system to figure this one out. And you know, once it's set, it's a precedence.
They seem like good grounds. Like, give us a number of what you think you're owed. You know, we'll write.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's kind of crazy that Disney couldn't just find a way to fix it. Like, bro, we're multi billionaires.
Well, no, I think if they wanted to, they would have. Like, there's no way in hell, like, ScarJo's lawyer didn't first reach out to Kevin Feige, or ScarJo code to like Kevin Feige or someone close. Like, there's no way in hell like this didn't end up in Disney's like lap before it hit the mainstream press.
It's just
right, like there's like ego.
With, like, practicality. Like,
Kevin Feige could have gone to whoever he needed to and been like, hey, like, let's give her like an extra $10 million. We don't need like the bad press for this.
Exactly.
And they would have done it if they wanted to do it. I think they would have done it then.
That's basically what Warner Brothers did to Gal Gadot, and I think Patty Jenkins. They just gave them a bonus to let them release on HBO Max, you know, so they wouldn't sue anyway. So it's like, you know. And Disney's like a bigger studio than Warner Brothers, so they should have like known better. So you know,
but this is like, Disney 101.
Disney Plus is all Marvel. Like, it should be called Marvel Plus.
Oh, you're forgetting about the Mandalorian.
Well, I don't watch
the Bad Batch might have been shit, but you're forgetting about the Mandalorian.
Even that is still not Disney bought the property, but it's not really like a
1,000 years away from the next one. Whereas Marvel is pumping out new content almost nonstop since WandaVision.
So
you're absolutely right.
Why, like, it was like the old phrase, like, why bite the hand that feeds you? Like, I would just take care of her, like, you know what I'm saying, so that this goes away, and we don't have to worry about that. Like, you don't want to. Like, what if RDJ says, you know what, well, fuck Disney too? What if, you know what I'm saying? What if Chris Evans like, yeah, you know what, yeah, also fuck this. Like, you could destroy, like, billion-dollar franchise because you want to, you know, because your pride or your ego, or because you want to make a couple extra dollars going forward with more deals like this.
Exactly. And it's 2021. You could trigger Twitter for any reason whatsoever.
Exactly.
And before you could mess up, and like in 1990 this wouldn't have been a big deal, and Disney could just push their way over because they're so big. But in 2021, you don't know if this could have blown up on Twitter and there could have been a Marvel boycott because ScarJo is so like beloved. Like, they're playing with fire. I understand what they're doing.
They're just so lucky that they don't have an alternative. They're like the Amazon of superheroes right now, because I mean, Warner Bros. Isn't really a competitor in that realm. So, you know, but if
content quality or quantity.
Yeah, but if they were a legitimate competitor, people could be like, you know what, I'm not watching Marvel movies anymore because of you know what I'm saying, this revolt that is starting. I mean, even though Batista is a smaller time, you know what I'm saying, actor, he's not ScarJo, but I feel like you're starting to see like the traces of more actors are coming out against, you know, Marvel and Disney as a whole. And who knows where it's going to take them the next 5 years if all their main, you know, tentpole actors decide that they don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah.
So it feels like, and I haven't heard any negative press about Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
So it feels like Disney is putting all their chips on Kevin Feige and his relationship with the actors, the studios, and the public to let Disney, what do you say, corporate, you know, Disney board, this is the directors on the board for Disney, to protect their P&L, I guess.
He is so afraid of being canceled, though, because I think like when WandaVision came out and people were asking why wasn't there a Doctor Strange cameo, he's like, well, we didn't want this white man to show up and like show Wanda.
I mean,
so,
to be fair, I'm
nobody,
and I'm afraid of being canceled. Like, that's why a certain somebody doesn't come on the podcast anymore is because he was like super inappropriate, and I kept talking to him about it because I don't want to be canceled because of something he said or an association. I don't know what's going to happen in my future. What?
Oh yeah.
Which podcast?
On this podcast.
His name.
Inappropriate.
So, anyways.
So yeah.
So that Eternals trailer.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this. That's all. Like, I don't think being afraid. I don't think a fear of being canceled is an irrational fear. I think that's a fear.
Well,
almost anybody on the internet.
He's in a position where he's, culpable, and he can actually suffer from it, or maybe not get fired, but people, if he doesn't say the right thing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. If I got canceled versus he got canceled, his life would be way more impacted than my life. I don't know how to do it without my 10 Twitter followers, but
with the whole cancel culture debate, which I mean, this is almost like a different topic, but with the whole cancel culture debate, people people feel like it's people or like organizations that are canceling people, but it's really these businesses that are deciding that they don't want the bad press, they don't want the bad PR, and even a smaller business like if I say something working at Walmart and somebody gets mad at me and wants to have the store fire me or something, even that is a business decision made by the business. That person that complained about me has no power over getting me fired or whatever. Just I
don't know. I think they could tweet something out and that can get because I think like the guy who got fired, he went to Chick-fil-A and he said he sort of did it to himself. But I think like if someone tweets something out, they can show a video of something of some of a store.
I mean, anything can go viral.
Of an employee,
it can go viral.
That can get fired just by showing that.
But what I'm saying is that person complaining about, the person complaining about you saying something or something you did doesn't really have any power over you losing your job.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't.
I can verify that.
I see where that's going.
I've seen people.
Yeah, I can verify that. I have a great friend.
I think you do.
One thing to point out with cancel. Easiest in power to remain in power is to pit against one another so that we all mistrust.
Thank you.
So the best way for the powers that be to is cancel culture. It really works for them because they can just as big as Disney scenes or as big as these things seem like MSNBC, there's still little compared to the big picture. Those are just little microorganisms within the bigger picture of humanity and governance and all that stuff. So how
I agree with that.
How do you keep the veil over people's eyes is to put a bunch of stuff that's pretty insignificant. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is just like, how do you extract wealth out of Bill Cosby? Well, you how do you do all this stuff? How do you, I don't know.
It was a great
We've all read
perception of the world and destroy their childhood heroes. So, yeah, that's, I don't know.
All right.
We just got way off.
Trailer.
So
that's why I said I was like, it's a different topic. It's a little different.
Guys, are we starting another podcast?
So let's talk about
just called Zealots. We're not talking about those guys. Not talking about the culture here. Just Zealots.
Well,
I think cancel culture will continue until a point where a majority of the people in the population have been affected by it. So you're all for cancel culture until someone tries to cancel one of your favorite comedians or actors, and then you realize cancel culture might be a little blown up, and I don't think it's until we reach herd immunity for that this bullshit's going to go away.
Cancel culture exists. I think it's an illusion. It's a fabrication. Because I see stuff all the time where it'd be like, as a black guy, I see stuff all the time. We're like, well, black people don't like this. And I'm like, what? When did that happen? I didn't get the memo. I'm not calling for this to be changed, or I'm not calling for. But that's what I'm saying. They take a small group, one or two people, or a small group of people.
It's the loud group of people on Twitter.
That's a black thing. Yeah, it's exactly. But it's it's not real. It's not. there is some organization or some group of people that I have not heard of who are angry about something, and then that's why it goes back to my point of saying, like, the businesses and the corporations are making these decisions. They're the ones who decide not to sell this book anymore or to change this label or whatever.
Because they're worried from blowback. So I mean, it's sort of like give and take sort of thing, like chicken and the egg thing, like which causes which. You know,
but what's the blowback? Like, do they actually see? Do they actually see the? So, well, I'm saying, do they actually see the?
That's a good point, Maurice.
Or is it just a reactionary thing, just because they're so afraid of something that might not ever come? But what happens?
That's a great fucking point.
At the end of the day, and if they're worried if it's going to hurt their profits, they're going to make decisions based.
But I think what he's talking about is theater.
It's not power. It's not.
I think what Maurice is talking about is theater. Yeah.
How did we get on this rant?
The Eternals trailer.
Yeah.
But real fast, like. Oh, but this is such. It's been so long since I've had an intelligent conversation.
This is.
Yeah, but I think we said we were going to talk about this when the episode started, so let's get on with it. So, all right. So, what did y'all think?
Give Maurice a controller and access to Halo 5, and we will talk about this more because I love it, and I want to continue this a little bit more later on.
But
but yes,
both sides of the argument.
This conversation could go on forever, or some people might call that for eternity. Speaking of Eternals. Did you guys see that trailer?
Yeah. I thought it was way better than the first one. I think
definitely. Oh yeah,
this is the movie I was talking about from the beginning. The first trailer dropped, and I was like, "Eternals, let's fucking go! Like, this is gonna be so good." And I know there were some naysayers out there on the interwebs, but like this last trailer, like just kind of said, "What up? Hold my beer! Like, let's do this." I mean, look how ripped Neon Johnny got.
Based off this last trailer,
I think it's gonna be good. Yeah, I was gonna be like, I think it's gonna be the best movie since. And then I was thinking about the last couple of movies, and I was like, I mean, Far From Home was great. Endgame was phenomenal. Eternity War was great. Like they put out some bangers. I mean, besides Black Widow, but we all put out a. Shit! What was that Star Wars movie?
Pretty cool.
What was episode 3.5?
Rogue One.
That was
Rogue One, yeah. But most studios have put out a Rogue One. You can just
I love Rogue One. Shut up.
Yeah, I think Rogue One is pretty good.
So wait, Major. Yeah. I hate to break it to you, but tell me if this sounds like another movie you've seen or not seen yet. We're going to take a very obscure characters from the Marvel Universe. We're going to have them acted by people who are in their prime 3 or 4 years prior. And then we're going to have really sketchy animation at times while trying to separate them from the bigger Marvel Universe. Does that sound like something we've seen recently?
Yeah.
Maybe. New Mutants, right? That's what I think this movie's going to be.
Oh, it's no, that's that's a Fox movie, though. You can't taint it with Fox.
It's going to be that.
Fox and that. No, I think it's going to be phenomenal.
No.
I mean...
I think this movie's either going to be, like Major said, like really phenomenal and great, or it's going to be okay and kind of forgettable, but I don't think it's going to be bad. Like, I don't think it's going to be... Like, from the second trailer, the first trailer, I was like, I don't know about this. But the second trailer makes me feel like it's at least not going to be a bad movie, but it hasn't convinced me that it's going to be
better than Thor: The Dark World.
A lot of characters.
Yeah, it's not going to be Thor: The Dark World, but it hasn't convinced me that it's going to be something like amazing that's like that I put in my top 5 Marvel movies or something like that. But yeah. I am looking forward to it more now than I was after that first trailer. It was kind
of the talent, the storyline. I mean, except for Inhumans, how do you fuck this up?
See, I'm almost afraid
they will find a way.
Try to do too much. Like, it's a big cast. It's like a huge cast of people, and it's kind of obscure. You know what I'm saying? Like, not
how did they get Angelina Jolie in a Marvel movie?
Funny.
I mean, I guess she was in Wanted. She might be a cool person. I mean, she did Tomb Raider. She did Wanted.
Marvel
maybe
is like where it's at now, though. Like it's not
right?
how it was 10 years ago. Marvel is like
how about how much like nerds have come up over.
Yeah.
So wait, you actually like Angelina Jolie as an actress?
Yeah.
She is
I
the
look forward to
worst.
Angelina Jolie in movies.
Are you kidding me?
No.
How about we break down the trailer real quick and we'll just do a quick summary of it. And,
okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Talk about the parts we like. So,
yeah, while Matt tries to recover his blown mind.
Yeah, so we saw Salma Hayek talking to the guy from Game of Thrones.
Phenomenal actor.
Like the
phenomenal actor.
Fallout. Half the population's back, so it starts something called the Emergence. And then, we have like the other Game of Thrones guy talking to Cersei saying, why didn't you all help with Thanos or any wars? He's like, we weren't supposed to, the Deviants, unless it was Deviant related. And the Deviants are just like these monsters from
that's my only negative about this trailer. I wish, because that was a big question I had, supposedly going into this movie, is why weren't they around for all this other stuff? That was maybe 25 to 35% of the draw of going to this movie, was figuring out why the hell these guys weren't around for the other stuff. But then they answered it in the trailer. So that's like my only negative for me personally about this trailer. I just thought I'd point that out while we're going through it.
But I feel like that's such a letdown answer that it's good that they put in the trailer just to get it out. Like, just to,
so it's a letdown answer, but it's so much better than any other answer they could have given.
Well,
we were asleep, we didn't know who we were, we just, the Thanos snap just unwoken, like they just woke us up. Like all the other alternatives.
They should have just went with a more darker. Like not every hero has to be so like pure. They could have been like, it wasn't half of humans getting wiped out wasn't our concern. Like it wasn't a big enough problem for us.
But like the story they're saying is that like we love humans, we give them fire, we help them advance the technology, and all of a sudden we don't care if half of them
that's because they wrote themselves in the corner. I wouldn't have gone with the whole we love humanity so much, we're a benevolent God. I wouldn't have gone with that.
Yeah.
Well,
I can see that. If you change that, then I'll give you that. The other one.
The video gaming series, they all lost their memory, so that's why they didn't interfere with any of the wars.
Yeah, but that's so lame.
Better way to go.
That's almost
so lame.
Or like the memory loss.
They all got hit in the head with big rocks, and they forgot who they were. And then what caused the memory to come back? The fourth snap.
I don't know. It's sort of like.
Or hear me out. Hear me out.
Way to go than just like we just didn't feel like it.
It wasn't part of the sacred timeline.
Yeah, there we go.
So it's a different storyline.
Well,
so therefore,
no. They didn't interfere because it messed with the sacred timeline. There you go.
Oh no,
that's a better one.
They're part of the TVA. So you're saying you would make the Eternals part of the TVA? You get +5 for continuity on that, but -10 for creativity.
So, do y'all think that you're going to be able to?
They're all popping up because the timeline's been messed up.
Do y'all think that they're going to be able to use all the characters efficiently? Because there's like 10 of them.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's any way they can. I think some of the characters are going to have to be like more so just personalities that might get a couple of lines and a couple of character traits, and they just put to a box of that's funny guy. That person always is talking shit about people. That what I'm saying. Like a couple of them can't get fleshed out. It's just too many. It's too many of them to really flesh out.
You're gonna focus on like the interesting few.
Yeah.
Now my question is, Marvel being the money grabbing mother effers that they are, right? And I can understand that, and plus that gives me more Marvel content, so I'm not even complaining about it. Do you guys hear that? You guys hear that?
Is Tip watching in the background right now?
No.
Tip, are you listening to Jesus?
What do you think, Tip?
Well,
Good,
Angelina Jolie is way too old to be in. I'm sorry. Look, Angelina was great. 1990s Angelina Jolie from Hackers. Oh my God. Whoa. But
suck it, Matt. Jolie, that's another one for Team Angelina.
She's got 3 inches of makeup. She's got.
I guess you can tell.
I mean, shit, dude. That's done with. Just put her in like one of those like movies with what's her name, Betty White or whatever.
Ooh.
Tip warming up for the roast at Comedy Central.
Warming up the roast of Angelina Jolie.
Tip, you watch your mouth.
I think they.
Now, what I was saying before that was like
Lee's face than they did from Celestial.
Would you rather they have this scenario where they just weren't instructed to, like they have all the memories, but they weren't instructed to interfere unless deviants showed up? Or would you like a 2-part series or 2-part movies from Marvel where one person, like they all lose their memory, one person gets their memory back and he has to go around unlocking or awaking everyone else's memory.
That's basically
and then they all team up for first.
Right, Matt? House of M is like Wolverine gets his memory back and he has to like go and reawaken everyone. That's
right. Yeah. So would you like that? So but as a movie, not as a comic book, as a movie, would you like that? And then they all team up at the end and you meet the big daddy.
I just don't like
the
memory
for part 2
idea. It seems too convenient and it almost breaks the
I agree.
Well, it's like why weren't they helping? It's like the excuse is like we just didn't feel like it, or like we
no, the excuses they couldn't. Yeah, the excuse is we were told if we interfered, this planet would die. The Celestials would blow up this planet if we interfered.
If they did it like that, if they made it like, look, they told us that if we try to help you guys at all, like they'll wipe you all out. They'll wipe the whole planet out. And so we really couldn't help. If they do it like that, then I do like the excuse that they were instructed not to help. But if they just do it like, oh, somebody told us not to help, so we didn't help, then that's almost as saying like we didn't feel like it. It's not exactly saying we didn't feel like it, but if there is no threat, if there's no like actual fear of helping, then it's almost to the
then
same.
It's a dick move. Yeah, then you're sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So I would say, not to be like a fanboy, but I want to trust in the almighty Feige and walk into this assuming they're going to do a good job.
What I'm really worried about is the one cool part in that whole trailer was the unveiling of the Celestial, and I'm just really worried that they're not going to develop that character at all. He's just going to show up.
How do you develop that character?
There's so much backstory to the Celestials, though, and then we have 10 Eternals that we have to explain. So it's just going to be
big.
It's going to be like Dormammu in Doctor Strange, where it's just like, oh, he's this really bad guy. Okay, end of movie.
I feel like the Celestial should be like a multi-movie spanning thing.
Yeah,
though.
their own effing movie.
Yeah, or something. I don't want like half Eternal, half Celestial movie, or I feel like they're so grand that you want to kind of have them kind of mystic in a way, kind of like what's his name, Eson, the Searcher that they had in Guardians of the Galaxy, that people still talk about. He was only in like a 3-second flashback scene on the screen,
but he was so cool.
Yeah, it was a cool ass scene. But everybody's
you're like, who is this guy? He's huge. He's a giant.
Like the whole
Celestials don't really speak anyway, so I mean, they're really more of a presence anyway. So I think it's probably best if they didn't say anything.
Don't over-explain it. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this:
but don't have it be like a paper like villain that happens all the time in these movies.
Do you think the Celestials are going to be the ultimate villain?
Well, you know what? No, I have a feeling we're going to see the Celestials, but it's going to be something they send, or like they're just going to kind of be in the background.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the Deviants are probably the main villains anyway, and the Celestials are like more just like a presence, and they're really they're the ones who are really running things in the Marvel universe.
Now, Matt, what did you think about Goliath? Did you think they did a fair job with Goliath and his backstory? Like, you saw Goliath, but then you had some, I would say subtle exposition explaining who Goliath was, kind of, at least in the terms of the Loki TV show.
I did like that.
If you like that, yeah. So I would imagine, based on that hopefully they'll bring that same kind of creativity to and exposition.
The issue though is Alioth is a completely different character, a type of character, and his role in the Marvel universe is completely different than somebody like the Celestials.
True.
You can't compare them.
What if they opened with a scene of the Collector explaining the backstory of the Celestials? Would you be okay with that?
You know me and my exposition dumps after
right?
Eagle Guy and Spring Soldier. I hate exposition dumps if they're like sitting there on a plane and just like awkwardly talking about, something that you normally wouldn't have a conversation about.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how.
Right. I think that was a subtle nod towards how well the Suicide Squad did. And
I love that.
Yeah, sitting in the plane, that was an excellent scene. That's exactly what you would talk about on a plane. Man, you tied me up next to a werewolf.
No.
But yeah, overall, I'm very excited. And after seeing the Shang-Chi trailers, very excited about that. I remember, it feels like 100 episodes ago, I was talking about how that was the one Marvel movie I was most concerned about liking. But I think that's going to be a blast too. I'm just really looking forward to Phase 4.
Overall,
they got a good formula now. Like I feel like it's hard for them to mess up now. Right? Like I feel like they figured out what people like, and like they just got a good formula. So I feel like I haven't seen a bad Marvel movie since Thor: The Dark World. Like that was terrible.
Black Widow.
Now, how I gotta go? I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna go back and watch Black Widow again with my wife because I'm not sure how a single person could deem that one of the top 3 best Marvel movies.
I would say I have not seen the Dark Widow movie yet.
Okay, so yeah.
Dark
Widow.
So maybe that's so terrible. I Dark Widow, Black Widow. I have heard some bad things about it. I haven't seen it yet. I need to watch it. But
don't listen to the podcast. Don't listen to our episode of the podcast until after you've seen it.
So I think with the Eternals, really quick, just to kind of wrap it up. I'm only gonna watch it because of you, sick motherfuckers, are gonna make me watch it and talk about it for this podcast. It's that ongoing prank. This whole podcast is a prank.
Yeah,
this is actually
listen to what you got to say about
this. Is actually sponsored by a psychological study done by Stanford University to torture one person, Matt. And this is the best way we could record everything for evidence purposes.
Well, Matt, read the Neil Gaiman series, and you might get more excited because I think you'll know more about the lore and the place that takes place in Marvel. But I don't know. I'm going to keep an open mind. I think Guardians of the Galaxy proved us like these lesser known characters can be interesting and engaging.
Right.
So,
not just interesting, some of the most interesting.
All I'm saying though is when I went to the comic book shop in the 90s as a kid, I wasn't walking in going, "Hey, I wonder what the Eternals are up to this month."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're not very well known, but I think.
Well, maybe if you did, Marvel wouldn't have had to sell off all of their damn properties.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's your fault.
This is all your fault, man.
This is my penance for doing that in the 90s. Okay.
That's right. You avoid them in the 90s, so you're getting them in the 2020s.
But hey, you know what? WB owns DC in entirety, and they can't even get the universe up and running.
Yo, go fuck yourself. Last week, I know I was like giving some shit to the CW world or whatever, but in the last week, I've actually rewatched season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good and cheesy, and it's like the epitome of a CW TV show. Well, I know people are like, oh, like when you say that show's like should be on the CW, like that's a burn or whatever. But I think the CW has a stylized form that you can like really appreciate. Like if you knocked me out and put me in a coma and I woke up 5 years later and you showed me a superhero show, I'd be able to tell you if that was on the CW or not, because that's how stylized it is. Regardless of superhero.
I hear nothing but good things about Superman.
I've heard nothing but good things about it. However, I can't find it on a streaming service.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just have to wait on the best Superman TV show.
Comic book show this year, but yeah, I've not seen it either. So
yeah, but anyway, Legends of Tomorrow, super wacky, very cheesy. I love it.
Yeah. And with that,
I saw
any
that.
final thoughts? Because we're at 40 minutes plus the 30 minutes we spent on the other one. So any final thoughts on Eternals or What If?
I'm eternally a fan of the MCU. And
Tip, did you have a final thought?
I did. I hope that in this next iteration, the next phase of Marvel, that they make an Iron Fist movie to further corrode our love of the universe.
Oh, it's a shame we're wrapping up. There was some recent Iron Fist news that came out that's pretty interesting. We'll have to talk about that next time.
week. Yep.
All right.
Daredevil's coming too.
That's excellent.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Maurice, thanks so much for coming on. Please play some Halo with us sometime. And you guys, don't forget, Ravagers never travel alone. And you can always tweet at us at Zealots Podcast on Twitter or email us at zeitgeistzealots@gmail.com.
All right, bye everyone.
Or you can touch Forrest's hair.
Just rub my head and you'll instantly be
magical properties.
Yeah. All right. Bye everyone.